I released a very controversial video called 3 Reasons Why Black Women Don't Respect Black Men. And a lot of brothers did not like that video. Well, the reason why, it was true. But for you disgruntled brothers out there, not to worry, because the other side of the video was coming today. 3 reasons why black men do not invest in black women. And that's a bad thing, because the black community in America is one of the only communities in North America where the men either don't invest in the women and have no reason or incentive that they feel to invest in the women. And when you don't have your men investing in your women, you just don't get a whole lot of things. You don't get businesses, you don't get communities, you don't get the improvement of schools, you don't get the business ingenuity, you don't get a lot of administrative ingenuity in neighborhoods because the men just are not interested. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Well, I know what a lot of brothers are gonna say for some of the ideas here. You know, black women are single moms, they're overweight, some of them, you know, bad attitudes. I'm not even gonna deal with all of that because I think all of that encompasses the 3 main reasons. So I'm not gonna talk about lack of femininity or what they look like or bonnets or loudmouth or talking back. I'm not gonna talk about those things because that stuff is really, you know, that's secondary. But the first reason, in my honest opinion, is that black women have a very high level of entitlement. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you. A lot of black women feel that a black man should do something for them for nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people are going to say, hey, that's a problem all around the black world. That's a problem around the world in general. But it is, you know, it has more of a pervasive effect here, right? There's a more dangerous effect here. It's at a higher level. It's more volatile, right? Black women feel, in my honest opinion, that they don't need to do anything for a black man to like them. All they need to do, in fact, is focus on themselves. You know, like, let me go to college, let me get a good career, let me focus on what I want to do, let me start dating when I want to date, and then voila, a man's gonna come out and find me because I'm just that special. And you may very well be a very special lady. You may be a very talented lady, but you believe that you owe or owed a man for the fact that your pastor tells you that, or for the fact that your friends tell you that, but that has not produced the man for you. And you believe you deserve it because you're you. Now, let me talk about this. If you ask any black woman, do you deserve a good man? She's gonna say, yes. Ask her also, does a black man deserve sex because he's a good man? She's gonna tell you, no. That's the issue that we're talking about right here. Black women believe that black men belong to them, period. There is no competition, which I'm gonna get into a little bit later. There is no understanding of what the man wants, what the man desires, what his needs are. What can you give into him that sacrifices you to be in a relationship with that man? You want him to sacrifice for your needs and desires, but you don't want to sacrifice for his needs and desires. You know, like, there's a lot of apathy towards black men that I've noticed who have been abused by women. When women hear black men's stories about they've been abused by their mother, it could be certain levels of, you know, sexual abuse or physical abuse. Black women don't care about that, but they do want black men to care about if they're abused, because if they have problems, then they want you to know where that problems come from, where it stems from. But when a black man has problems, they don't care. It doesn't matter. And that level of entitlement is a reason for that apathy. That apathy is increased because of that entitlement. It only revolves around me. A lot of young black women and black women a little bit older, it revolves around me. You should be lucky you're talking to me. You should be lucky you're dealing with me. It don't even matter if I'm like 3 kids and I'm 31 and I'm all of this, you should be lucky you're talking to me. Now, let me just say this. I'm going to play this particular clip. It comes from Kendra G to prove my point. Here you have a lady that's 31 with 2 kids. I want you to hear some of the things she's going to say, and then we'll come back.
Yes, I have 2.
How old are your kids?
9 and 3.
9 and 3. Same dad?
No. Fool me once, fool me twice, no more baby daddies. I'm here. I need a husband. I need a man that don't want no kids. Period. That's what I want.
You have kids though.
I don't care. I don't want. He can have kids, but I don't want him to be one no more.
Okay. So you're saying he can come with kids, but you don't want him to want kids.
Yes, like you got to be like very, very established if you want me to have another kid. Because at that point, I'm gonna have to be a housewife and make money when I feel like it. If I'm gonna have a kid by you, I can't be nobody else's baby mama. No more of that. So I'd rather just not have a kid.
Okay. Does he got to make a certain amount of money?
Yes, definitely.
Woo, how much?
He got to be making me as a hairstylist. My first year, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I just moved to Arizona. So with me being in Arizona for first year, starting all over with clientele and all of that, I made $85,000. So imagine once my clientele get where I need to be, which is 2 years. All it takes is 2 years. You just got to be able to take care of me. Like alone, my bills come up to about $3,000-$4,000 a month. So you got to be able to handle this on your own. Plus, I got 2 kids. It's a package deal. You got to be able to be like, baby, I got y'all. Not worry about this. Not worry about that. That's what I need. I'm done with the helping stage. I'm done with the trying to build you up. I done that enough. I done built myself up. So now I'm just looking for somebody that's gonna come with me. I like the.
If that isn't entitlement, I don't know what is. And that really turns a lot of men off, because what you're doing is you're asking something from him that you're not willing to give back in return. Let's go on to number 2. The number 2 reason that black men do not want to invest into black women is looking at black men as second-class citizens. In other words, you feel you are better than them. And this is what you hear all the time. Let's say for things like Black Girls Rocks, right? Which I don't have a problem with black women who are doing very well. In fact, in the United States, it was never black men trying to keep black women behind. In fact, the first woman to be ordained in the black church was ordained by a man. I think it was the first person in the United States that was ordained as a female was ordained by, I think, Henry McNeil Turner, shout out to George, right, who was a black man. So we've always have been from our African roots where women run markets and run economies to a certain degree. We've always been okay with black women having an equal share and sometimes leading communities. It's never been such of a problem for black men. The biggest problem is that when black women attain these things, they immediately start, and this is not all, but this is a good portion, looking at black men as if they are second-class citizens, looking at black men as if they are less than. And of course, you're gonna hear certain talking points. I played one already, but you're gonna hear things like, it doesn't matter if I have kids, you need to take care of me and my kids come first. You'll always hear things like that. And if your kids come first, who comes second? Oh yeah, the guy comes second. Who's gonna come in and, give your kids a better life? You want him to come in and help raise those kids, but he's a second-class citizen, so his needs are not met. And that very well goes into the entitlement piece. Men are not going to invest anywhere where they feel like they are second-class citizens. Just think about these countries that we have so many talented Africans coming from, okay? So many countries. I want to play a clip, actually, of George Ayete, one of my favorite PhD economists. He's now passed away this year. But he's going to make an example about Nigeria and Nigerians investing in their own home country.
Stability. You need to have economic stability, political stability, and social stability. Nobody is going to invest in a country which is racked by chaos and instability. You need to have that kind of stability has eluded many African countries. And finally, you need to have some basic system of incentives. By incentives, we mean that all of us, we want to have nice cars, nice houses, and so forth, etc., right? But in every society must make a rule. And that rule is those who get ahead are those who become successful or rich. It is not like this in Africa. If you want to be rich, you enter into politics in Africa. Because the richest people are the heads of state, the crooks, the ministers, and so forth. All right? So the system of incentives that we have in Africa is completely distorted. Those who sing praises to the governments or to the despots in power are those who are made ambassadors and ministers. All right? And we have to replace the system, sycophancy, for example, with a system which rewards hard work and initiative. If we can have these, the rule of law, property rights, and so forth, stability and so forth, then we'll be able to create the enabling environment which would attract investment. And even I'll say that forget about the foreign investors, concentrate more on domestic investment. Because if Nigerians themselves are not investing in their own countries, why should Americans? Do Americans know something which Nigerians do not know? And why would Americans invest in Nigeria when the Nigerian heads of state and ministers are taking their money out of the country? It is the same like in Russia, for example. Capital flight out of Russia is almost 50 billion. And why would anybody invest in a company when those inside the company are taking their money out? So we need to create an enabling environment. And that enabling environment requires property rights, security of persons and property, some basic functioning infrastructure, basic freedoms, and so forth. But the mafia states that we...
Okay, so he makes a good point that I'm going to steer to the relationship sector. At this point in the early 90s, you had a few Nigerian dictators. Babangida, you had Sani Abacha. And what happened was because of that oppressive regime in Nigeria in the early 90s, people felt like it wasn't safe to invest because in their own countries, they felt like second-class citizens. Now, what do you do when you feel like a second-class citizen? You want to migrate to a place where you feel like you are welcome, which is why Nigerian Americans and many Africans that come from other places and from the Caribbean, they thrive in America. Not that they don't face racism, but they feel like they have an equal playing field and that they can get the best from their efforts. That's what you're seeing black men doing. Black men are not investing in black women as much as they used to, and they're taking their talents to other places because they don't want to feel like they're second-class citizens. Imagine some of the mentalities that some of these sisters have that haven't seen fathers, and you're a black man and you're trying to, hey, listen, I'm a man, right? Like you don't talk to me in that way. And you're having to fight for some type of authority in the relationship as the man, although you're doing the things that a man does, but then you feel like culturally you're getting disrespected by a woman. How many men that have talent are going to sit there and deal with that? They're not. We're talking about Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State, going through problems in Jackson State, right? Do you expect a talented man like Deion Sanders to stay and put up with the lack of buffoonery that Jackson State has been doing? Absolutely not. People that have abilities to leave. And that's what some black men are doing. They're leaving. Yes, because why? A lot of black men are feeling like that sisters look at them as second-class citizens. Now, some women may do this without even knowing it. And you can do it by how you talk to somebody, the demands you make from them, the lack of ability to want to understand them or how they feel. It doesn't matter how they feel, right? That sort of thing. Like if somebody were to do that to you as a woman, you would have a big issue with it. So when men feel like that, they don't invest. They don't want to invest in a house for you. They don't want to put your kids in a nice school. They don't even want to have kids with you, or they don't want to marry you. They don't want to take care of you because you're not respecting them. And that's the second reason why a lot of black men don't want to invest in black women. Let's go to number 3. The third reason is that black women do not want to compete for the availability of black men on the market. And, you know, imagine if you're a good coach like Deion Sanders and you stay at Jackson State, or in any situation where the administration or the school is not willing to negotiate with you. No matter if you're a good brother or not, you're going to be underappreciated. But now what happens when people come out and they want to give you a better offer? Do you go? I'm going to tell you what we have in the black community is a lot of Deion Sandering happening every day. A lot of black men are leaving Black America and they're going to a better deal. That's what Passport Bros is about, right? And, you know, obviously I'm a black person, I'm a pro-black, and I believe in sticking with the black community, but not everybody's going to think like me. And I know that many black men out there are going to be free market specialists, all right? Coach Greg Adams calls it free agents. And that's basically saying that I'm going to the highest bidder in a free market economy. And that's typically what you're seeing. Black women are looking at black men and saying, hey, for the majority of these guys, I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to clean. I'm not going to be feminine for him. Who does he think he is? He can take it or leave it. And so if you have that attitude, then what happens is they leave it. There's no negotiations, and they go. And then when they go, you call these men particular names, but you didn't want to compete for them anyway. Go over there with the white girl. Go over there with the Asian girl. Go over there with the African girl. And a lot of brothers is leaving black women for, and I'm talking about in the African American community, for women who look just like black women. Like, for example, I have the Pan-African Dating Show channel, and it brings women together from all across the world, people from African American. We're going to have African American women on there. It's everybody that's on there, right? But what are you seeing? Brothers are looking at the women in Africa that they feel a little bit more femininely, culturally feminine, and they have the same body types, if not the same, if not better. And what are black men saying? Well, hey, I can get that same situation in Africa, and a woman that looks just as good. You know, the booty is nice and everything else is nice, and you know, she don't have a lot of babies for me, and be happy. So many black men do that all the time. They start off with an African American wife, then they end up with a wife from another place. You know, because women are going to be more competitive in certain places. You know, and when those women start competing for these men that are builders, and again, these guys might not be 6'5", they may not be 6'7", they may not have $500,000 a year. But if women start competing for these guys and you don't want them, they start going to the best offer. And how can you invest in a company that doesn't want to compete? Imagine you investing your money in a company like Motorola that can't compete, or doesn't want to compete, or doesn't want to innovate to be with consumers, when there's Apple. Like, as black women, think about what you like to do as far as investing your money in certain gadgets. You like Apple, right? Almost every woman wants an iPhone because iPhone is always innovating. It's always competing for the market share. It's always trying to make its products better for you, the consumer. But how many women think like Apple in our community? Or are you just looking at the fact that you want money and you want somebody to do for you, but you don't want to compete for the customer space? You want a man to compete for you, but you don't want to be competing for the man every day. And then when other women that are foreign to the community come in and they compete for these guys, what are they supposed to do? Wait on you to get your act together or give you a hometown discount? It's not what's going on in today. And these reasons, all three of these, it can cover, you know, single moms, or it can cover lack of femininity. It can cover bonnets. It can cover BB, whatever you want to say it can cover. Those are the main three reasons that exhibit the other minor behaviors that black men talk about. And because of that, black men don't take their money and their hard-earned money or they don't have the desire to want to take care of women in our community. Because if they found women in our community very valuable, you would see a lot of men becoming more successful on purpose just to take care of women in the community. They would invest. They would clean up communities. You would see more businesses there. They would make more networks with men. But because the men do not see a lot of women valuable or wife material, you don't get the investment into the family structure. Because guys feel like, well, if I want to just have sex, I can get it from anywhere. And that becomes the problem. Well, guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea D. Jackson, back at it again with another video. I really thank you for your time. We're out.